Hey guys, Coyote here, and today we're going to be starting a new series called Crime Story Time. I think that was the name we just settled on one. Yeah, Crime Story Time. Now, as you can guess what I'm doing, I'm going to be reading you guys stories from different crimes, some mostly murder cases. But anyway, we're going to get into it. I'm reading them off of an app that I have. So anyway, I'm just going to read you guys the stories. It's set up like texts, so the stories are kind of set up like that. I'll be reading them to you guys as it is on my screen, showing you guys the pictures and everything. So anyway, let's get into it. This one is called The Tragic Tale of Tina Fontaine. Now, let's get into it. Canada has had a long and difficult relationship with its indigenous people. Since colonization, they have faced a long-standing racism and abuse. Since colonization, they have faced long-standing racism and abuse. Whether it be the residential schools where indigenous children were placed by force and often beaten, abused and murdered in an attempt to erase their culture. Now I'll obviously show you guys the pictures I'm getting on screen here. Yeah, that's what I'm going to try and do eventually, but for this first video I'm just going to show them like this. I will bring them up and put them on screen when I've got a chance, I've got my proper editing set up at mine. Because at the minute it'd be a pain in the arse dragging, dropping and finding everything. So obviously guys, this is just temporary setup. I should have said this at the beginning. This will just be a temporary setup for now because I'm not at home. Obviously we're in isolation, so I'm not at home at the minute. I'm isolating with Beth, so yeah, I'm not isolating at home. So I don't have all my proper setup. I literally have this camera, my phone and Beth's laptop. So this is how my video is going to be recorded for the foreseeable future until we're back at home and everything's all sorted properly. But anyway, let's continue. Or the 60s scoop, where more than 20,000 indigenous children were disproportionately stolen from their parents and put up for adoption in white Canada's Canada's indigenous have been victims of race policies and procedures that have severely disturbed their traditional lives. And there we go, another picture popped up here. I think that might be flipped backwards for you guys, I don't know. It says Canada can't hide genocide. Yeah, that was a good rhyme. Obviously not good, but you know. Intergenerational trauma has created a culture that is lost and confused. And for indigenous women, the statistics are particularly terrifying. These women often leave their small communities seeking work, only to find themselves caught up in prostitution, addiction and or human trafficking rings. And that's highly messed up. That is just really bad. I mean, obviously guys, I'm going to be interjecting with a few points here, but like off of my thought. But I think that's kind of messed up. I mean, I don't know anything about these cases. I'm literally learning these straight as I'm reading them to you guys. But like, some of the stuff we're hearing already, these are pretty messed up. I just want to say I don't want to like show any, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I know these are all sensitive subjects, so I don't want to sound blunt or harsh, but I'm just going to be saying what I think. There is going to be viewer discretion advised at the beginning. I'm going to put one in before every video. But these are highly messed up stuff, and as you're seeing here, this one is royally messed up. Like, I mean, I might as well be swearing in these videos as well. Anyway, as a result, they are 7 times more likely to be murdered than non-indigenous women in Canada. Now, what the shit in hell's that? And even worse, when police are called for missing indigenous people, they are less likely to take the cases seriously, activists claim. They're probably just out partying. It has been a comment many indigenous families have heard when reporting loved ones missing to police. Because of this stigma and racism, Indigenous women have become easy prey for murderers and sexual predators. For example, in 2004, when Canada serial killer Robert Pickton was charged with 15 counts of murder. Okay guys, sorry for that banging, it seems the neighbours have decided to do work now. I'll do that again. Nearly half of the 22 bodies found in his property were thought to have been those of Indigenous women. Is that a picture of the murderer? That's a picture of the murderer. I don't know if it's focusing, but you know. Don't see that, love? There you go, picture of the murderer. Anyway, but activists believe he murdered many more. Institutionalized racism and violence is the setting of Tina Fontaine's story. Jesus, we're just getting into it now. While the plight of missing and murdered Indigenous women has already begun gaining traction in Canada, MMIW is missing and murdered Indigenous women. Right, MMIW, I've got a feeling that's going to come up a lot. The murder of Tina Fontaine kick-started the movement in the phenomenon today. What? Kick-started the movement into the phenomenon it is today. Right, I'm going to be showing you guys every picture that I get here. But anyway. 15 years old, Tina Fontaine from Sagkeeng First Nation, right? Sagkeeng First Nation, Canada, didn't have an easy life. She was placed in the care of her great-aunt Thelma when she was only 4 years old. Her mother struggled with addiction and her dad had been diagnosed with cancer. Her great-aunt Thelma described her as happy and polite little girl. But in 2011, something happened that changed Tina's life. Her father, Eugene Fontaine, passed away, but not from the cancer he was battling. He had been beaten to death, his body found behind a garden shed. In court, Nicholas Abraham and Jonathan Starr pleaded guilty to manslaughter, saying they'd been on a bender and gotten into a fight over money. Eugene Fontaine was stomped on the head and put in a shed where he later died of head injury. That's a picture of her father. Sadly, Tina wouldn't live long enough to see the men convicted of the crime. After her father's death, the teen struggled to cope. She wanted to reconnect with her biological mother in Winnipeg, and with the permission of her great aunt, she travelled there alone in June of 2014. It would be the last time her family saw her alive. When Tina got to Winnipeg, her mother wasn't able to take care of her. Worrying after not hearing from her niece Thelma, she contacted Family and Child Services, CFS, to find her. When CFS located Tina, they placed her in hotels and group homes, but the young girl kept running away. Here's another picture of her. She had just experienced the death of her father and was suddenly in a new exciting place. She started dating a 21-year-old man named Cody Manson, whom she met on the street. During her time there, she also began dabbling with drugs. In the 3 weeks before Tina was last seen alive, she was reported missing 4 times by CFS, yet somehow her aunt wasn't notified of any of them. During these instances, Tina met social workers, paramedics, police officers and hospital staff, yet none of them helped her get therapy and deal with her issues. In fact, many of the systems meant to protect flat out failed the young girl. During one occasion, 2 officers reported seeing Tina while she was flagged as missing, but neither of them brought her back to CFS. As a testament to their misconduct, after her body was found, both officers were suspended and later resigned from the force. I have to take a drink here. Right, so it sounds like no one out there was doing their job when they was needed the most. So the police, the paramedics, nobody like that was actually doing their job and helping a young person in need. Like, so it sounds like this girl's already going through a lot. Like, she's lost her dad. Looks like she's trying to find like some way of coping with it. Like, she's going into drugs. She's running away. She's not like getting help that is needed. But anyway, enough rambling. Let's get into it. 8 hours after Tina's encounter with those officers, she was found unresponsive and sleeping in the street. A security guard brought her to a hospital where urine tested positive for several kinds of drugs, including marijuana, alcohol, gabapentin, codeine, and methamphetamines. Jesus, she's doing a lot of drugs. Gabapentin, they're more of a muscle relaxant. Well, they are a muscle relaxant. Codeine, oh no, sorry, did I say codeine? Sorry, I read that wrong, right? So, cocaine, not codeine, cocaine. I misread that. So, she was doing cocaine. That's some hard shit she's doing there. Methamphetamines, cocaine, gabapentin, marijuana, and alcohol. Jesus. Hospital staff placed her back into the care of CFS, yet not even 24 hours later, Tina was missing again. After Tina's body was found, her great aunt said, "I just can't describe it. How I am feeling. Knowing that if they did their jobs, my baby would still be here." The last time Tina was reported missing was on August 9th, 2014. People who knew her said she had been partying and hanging out with an older man named Sebastian. But Sebastian was really 55 years old Raymond Cormier, a man with an extensive criminal past. Tina's boyfriend told police he and Tina had met Cormier in mid-July. The older man took them to a party house and gave them drugs. The boyfriend had left to go back to his hometown shortly after and couldn't give the police any more information. But other witnesses reported seeing Cormier with Tina days leading up to her death. 8 days after Tina was reported missing for the last time, her body was found in Winnipeg's Red River. It was wrapped in plastic and a tan-coloured duvet had been weighed down with rocks. Okay, so here guys, you are going to see a picture of them dragging the bag and the cover out of a river. That's being dragged out of the river right there, guys. Sadly, degradation made it impossible to obtain any DNA from the body or the blanket, experts later testified. But at least 3 witnesses came forward to tell the police they had seen Cormier with the same blanket. Police had also discovered Cormier and Tina had gotten into an argument prior to her death because Cormier had been making sexual advances towards the young girl, and at one point she was livid because the man sold her a bicycle for 2 grams of marijuana. To get revenge, she had threatened to call the cops and reported him for a stolen truck parked at his house. Ernest DeWolf, a former friend of Cormier, later told the courts Cormier had told him he had slept with Tina. "I thought of it, really. She's a child," DeWolf recalled. When DeWolf later asked about the altercation regarding the truck, Cormier simply told him he had straightened it all out. Although witnesses came forward with information, it took the police a year to arrest Cormier. They used a Mr. Big sting technique to try and gather evidence. During a Mr. Big sting, officers pose as a criminal to get a confession from the killer. They may create a fake criminal gang to get the suspect to bring out his former deeds. and oftentimes they'll bug the suspects home with surveillance cameras and recording devices. In the police's obtained recordings, Cormier seemed to obsessed with Tina's death. Tina? Who the f*** Tina? With Tina's death. At one point, he even admits he killed her. He says it's because they had sex and later found out she was 15. He didn't want to be taken down as a skinner or paedophile. A 15-year-old girl. He told a woman on July 17, 2015. I drew the line and said that's why she got killed. During another occasion he stated, you ever been haunted by something? What happened there? Really, it's fucking not right. It's right on the shore, so what I do? Threw her in. Police charged Cormier with second-degree murder, but when it came time for court, the prosecution faced a problem. The DNA evidence had been eroded from time spent in the river, and they did not have any physical evidence or witnesses linking Cormier to the death. In fact, the coroner couldn't determine what the cause of death was at all. In a mic drop moment, Johnny Kavanagh, Cormier's lawyer, told the court they couldn't even prove Tina had died from an unlawful act to begin with, and that Cormier should be acquitted on that alone. Kavanagh said the recordings should be interpreted as a man lamenting the fact that he didn't do enough to help Tina, not as an admission of guilt, although the prosecutor had seeming confessions and people linking Cormier to the duvet in which Tina's body was found. A jury ultimately voted him not guilty, and a decision which sparked outrage amongst the indigenous community. More than 1,000 people took to the streets to call for a change in a system they say failed her. Tina's case became a catalyst for several indigenous grassroots movements, like Drag the Red, a group of volunteers who dragged the Red River for missing and murdered people. And the Bear Clan Patrol, who search for missing members of their communities, a job they feel police aren't taking seriously. James Favell, an organiser with the Bear Clan Patrol, said, Tina's untimely demise, the disrespect that was shown to her personhood, was the last straw for myself, my family and my community at large. In addition to these movements, CFS is also no longer allowed to house children wards in public hotels. The Canadian Human Rights Commission also requested a full inquiry into the members of MMIW in Canada. Indigenous families accused officers of misconduct and racism, saying they failed to properly follow up on leads that point to foul play in Indigenous cases. After the verdict, Kevin Hart, the Assembly of First Nations religious chief for Manitoba, said, the CFS system has definitely failed Tina Fontaine in the Winnipeg Police Services failed Tina Fontaine and Canadian Society failed Tina Fontaine. Everybody right now across this country should be ashamed of themselves for the injustice that occurred here. Although Tina's life was tragically cut short, hold on, there's a picture of a gravesite, I don't know if you can see that properly. Her story ultimately helped to shed light on the plight of Indigenous women and the violence and tragedy they face. And there's the last picture. Yep, that's it, guys. So, that was the story of Tina Fontaine. Now, that's a kind of messed up story. This is a new series, guys. I'm going to keep this one going because I do kind of enjoy reading those stories. I've read a couple in my spare time, but I'm going to record most of them for you guys now. I collect a new one every day, So I'm going to try and get these videos out maybe once a week. Don't hold me to that, guys. It's if I have time, I'm going to get one of these out once a week. Now, as you can tell by the intro to this video, I don't have my intro and outro clips with me. So these videos are just going to cut to an end, or maybe if I have time I can make myself a new outro over time for while I'm here. But anyway, that does it for this video, guys. If you want to see this series continue, please drop a like and leave me a comment. Also tell me what you thought of this story. I would like to hear your guys' opinions of them, like what you think of the stories, and like put your input, guys. I want to hear your input on these. But anyway, that does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.